All right, we are back here on SportsLine talking Titans tonight. They wrapped up really the first mini segment, or as Delaney Walker put it last night, the first quarter of training camp with their practice yesterday. They reported on Thursday, got through all the conditioning tests and meetings and all that introduction. Then practice early Friday morning, and they stretched it out these days. They stretched it out. They went about as early as you could go on Friday morning, went about as late as you could go last night on the final day, going back and forth. Now, finally a day off today, then back at it tomorrow morning, 9:20 at St. Thomas Sports Park, another practice open to the public, and then you get back at it for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, off day Sunday, and then it's game week preparation. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, travel to Atlanta on Thursday for the first preseason game a week from Friday against the Falcons in Atlanta. Phone lines are open, 737-7767. Want to hear from you tonight if you went out to St. Thomas Sports Park this weekend. What were your impressions of Ken Whisenhunt's second team, Marcus Mariota's first few practices? Did anybody else stand out to you? Or if you weren't out there this weekend, what are your questions? What are your concerns maybe about this Titans team heading in to the 2015 season? Begin tonight with Jay. Jay, good evening. You're first up on SportsLine.
Hey, Steve. How you doing tonight?
Doing well.
First of all, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I keep up with the Titans, and I really like Marcus. And, you answered some of my questions I was going to ask. It just seems like he's a perfectionist. He wants to do all the right things. And I've heard him in practice, and he looked at the coaches and said, yes, sir, no, sir. I love that. And how do you think their defense is going to do? I was just wondering about the defense also. And, I know he just seems like a perfectionist. And what your thoughts were? Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it, Jay. I think he is. I think it's very interesting because he's got a lot of that Hawaiian culture in his personality. He is very yes, sir. No, sir. Thank you, sir. Those kind of things with his responses, with the way he just treats people. It's really kind of refreshing to see a guy who's the #2 pick in the draft and anointed as a franchise type of player to treat people with that type of respect. And I think he's won a lot of people over inside and outside of the organization with that humble attitude that he has. But the biggest thing he's won people over with is that ability to work, whether it's the story about the glitch in the handoff or coming in early and leaving late during the OTAs, all of that stuff. He's won people over with the way he's acted. And the other thing about that, too, is people wondered how Zach Mettenberger would respond with the Titans drafting a quarterback at #2. To Zach's credit, he's been very professional about the whole thing and said, look, I'm going to go out there and compete. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to try to make myself better. I'm going to try to make Marcus better. I'm going to make it hard on him to win the job because I believe I can be a starting quarterback in the league. And I think he has certainly not been a distraction. He's been a great teammate up to this point. But the other thing that's happened here is if you watch Marcus Mariota play in practice, there's no debate on who's better. It's not like Mettenberger's following him up and doing exactly the same stuff. He's not. It looks like Mariota is the starter and Mettenberger is the backup. Not just because of the order in which they're taking snaps, because of how good Marcus Mariota looks. And I think that's also nice in this situation because if you're Zach Mettenberger and you were hurt by the situation and thought you deserved the opportunity, it's hard to watch these practices or go back and watch film and think, I'm competing with that guy. Because right now, Marcus Mariota has been so good through the first 4 days. He is the unquestioned starter of this Titans team. And that, again, is what is exciting if you're a Titans fan. Let's go to, I should also say about the defense. That was the other question brought up by Jay. It's a little hard to tell because they haven't done a lot of tackling or real physical stuff, but they're competing. And I'll tell you some guys who truly stand out, and they're newcomers. Brian Arakpo is a physical specimen. You bring him off the edge. He's a guy with 40 sacks in his career. He's going to make it difficult for anybody. And Taylor Lewan said the other night, look, I love going against Arakpo because he makes you better. He is a physical guy that can run through you. He's also got the speed and all those tools that can make things difficult for you as well. When you go up against him, you never know what you're going to get. And ultimately, that's going to make you better. So I think Arakpo opposite Morgan is a really exciting thing for Titans fans. And the other guy that I think is a huge addition here is Parrish Cox on the outside. He's a guy that really seems to always been talented. First-round pick several years ago, always been talented, but it seems like last year in San Francisco, he finally figured it all out. Tied for third in the NFL last year with 5 interceptions. He was really the leader for that 49ers defense in the secondary last year. Now he comes in to go opposite Jason McCourty. I think you feel pretty good about that pairing and that you can leave those guys out on an island some and perform. And what it does is it takes the pressure off of a Bleedy Ray Wilson or a Cody Sensabaugh that now become more nickel and dime package guys for you, which probably suits both of them better at this point of their careers. Back to the phones we go, and David. David, good evening. You're on SportsLine.
Yes, I feel the buzz of this team. I feel the fire coming off that logo on their helmet. I mean, number 8, he just has it. I mean, you could just look at the guys and tell and see that he means business when he hits that football field. And that's what I like. I like the way he carries himself, and he has confidence. That's all I have to say.
There's no question about it. He is a very confident guy. He won a bunch of games as a high schooler in Honolulu. He went to Oregon, won even more games, got to a national championship game with the Ducks against Ohio State last year. He won a Heisman Trophy. This is a guy who believes in what he can do. And he's going to throw balls that will get wide receivers open, that are going to make plays for this team. And that changes you. Quarterbacks change you. When you look at the Indianapolis Colts, when Peyton Manning left, they went 2-14. Didn't win a game until December. Went 2-14 the year after Peyton Manning left. They got Andrew Luck out of that. And what happened in year 2 after Manning? Luck comes in and as a rookie quarterback completely changes the outlook of that franchise. They're back in the playoffs. They're winning a division title. And that is Andrew Luck. If you look at the Colts even now, and some people believe they are the Super Bowl favorite in the AFC with a suspension hanging over Brady. You don't know how that affects the Patriots. A lot of people are buying in on the Colts in what should be, on paper, a down AFC South. That's not a world-beating team. That's not a all-time great defense. There isn't a great running game there. The core wide receivers is good. The offensive line, maybe a little bit above average. The separator for the Colts, the reason why the Colts are good and the reason why some people think they could win the AFC Championship is the guy taking the snaps, number 12. Andrew Luck is the reason people think the Colts can win. And he's come into the NFL, and he has delivered. He has made them better right from day number 1. And while Andrew Luck was a once-in-a-generation type of quarterback, I mean, he is the John Elway when you look at the specs of guys going through the combine and all that. I don't know if you can even put Mariota in that ballpark until you see some stuff from him on the field. But what Mariota looks like is a different guy than other guys they've drafted. When they drafted Vince Young, there weren't these performances in training camp. You didn't get near perfect performances. You saw flashes that were really cool. You saw him use his legs, you saw him do this, you saw him do that, which were fun and they were exciting, but you didn't have the consistency. Me personally, watching Jake Locker up close and personal, there were a bunch of days in those first couple of years where Matt Hasselbeck was the better quarterback. Even when Jake Locker won the job in year 2, there were a lot of days in training camp where I thought Matt Hasselbeck was the better quarterback. As a matter of fact, I said it on this program that I thought they went too early to Jake. And I think there were other people who watched all those practices in the media and fans that probably felt the same way. You don't feel that way now. You feel like Marcus Mariota is the guy, and he's proving it every time he walks on the field and puts that helmet on. And that is a comforting thing when you know that he is your franchise quarterback. Good evening, Leon. You're on SportsLine.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, I just wanted to say that, I didn't go out to Sportsplex, but I have seen Mariota play, several times. And, right now I think it's everything is pretty vanilla as far as the defenses that you see in practice. But with the things that he's going to see down the road as far as game plans and trying to understand this level of football is an entirely different animal. Mm-hmm. And the holes, the throws, the windows he's going to have to throw the ball in, they're not going to be there like they were at Oregon because of the talent level, the speed of the game. And, I think Zach, to his credit, he has done a good job accepting things, but I believe that Zach is going to, maybe by game 5 or 6, he'll possibly be the starter, and that's just my guess and my take on it.
Now, why do you think that?
Well, because Zach is more, he's more, as far as what Whisenhunt does, Zach is more that type of system quarterback, the type of system that Ken Whisenhunt runs. Mariota, he played shotgun, he played a lot of spread. That type of thing is okay, but, when he gets to this level, the things he's going to see is going to be entirely different. And he's not going to be able to run because everybody can run at this level. So, I wish him luck, and I think he's a good player, but I still believe that Jameis Winston was the most NFL-ready quarterback between the two.
I think they're both good. Leon, we appreciate the call. Here's a couple things to think about, Leon, just to counteract some of that stuff. You say that Marcus Mariota is going to struggle to run at this level, and every running quarterback struggles to run in the NFL compared to what they did in college. No question about it. But there was a play that I remember specifically from minicamp in which he gets to the edge on Avery Williamson, who's a fast dude at linebacker, and he blew by him and everyone else on the field. Marcus Mariota has a different gear than most quarterbacks have. So you will see him run, and you will see him be effective with it to some degree. But the other side of that is through 4 days of camp, I've seen Marcus Mariota pull it down and run twice. They both came last night, and both times they were simple scrambles to pick up first downs. They were just good football plays. But the point of that is he's not looking to run. He's not looking to make that the biggest part of his game. He's proving to people that he can be a pocket quarterback. And that was the big question everybody had was, hey, he's been in the shotgun. He runs a lot. Can he stand in an NFL pocket with bodies flying around him and step up and make throws? And through 4 days, he's done exactly that. He's stood in there. He's let the bodies fall at his feet, and he's connected on passes. You're right, the windows aren't as big in the NFL. But to me, that's been the most impressive thing about him for 4 days. He's created windows with his arm strength, which he has big-time arm strength. Everybody talks about Zach Mettenberger's arm. I'm not sure Marcus Mariota lacks much when it comes to arm strength between the two of them. The thing that's been impressive is he's creating windows to throw. He's making guys who aren't open. And we haven't seen that here in Tennessee. Maybe Steve McNair did it at the end of his career. I wasn't around to watch those practices. I've talked to some guys who said, yeah, towards the end of his career, he was able to make those types of throws. Not just use, his natural arm strength and those sort of things, which he did earlier, and extending plays and his toughness and his great competitiveness. Those were the things that made Steve McNair great. Towards the very end of his career, he started to be able to make those throws to get guys open. He knew the game well enough. He knew how people would react well enough. Marcus Mariota's doing this at 22. That, I think, is why you just watch people out there kind of shaking their head in disbelief, thinking, this guy is the real deal. Ken Whisenhunt's making this offense about Marcus Mariota. So all the comments about Zach Mettenberger being the guy that's the better fit for the offense, he's not going to be by the time the season kicks off. This offense right now is about Marcus Mariota. And if you think Mariota's a running quarterback and that this is somehow going to be an offense that is geared to him running, it's not. He's a quarterback. He's a deadly accurate throwing quarterback. Throws the deep ball well, intermediate balls with zip, incredibly accurate on short stuff, good touch. He does everything you want from the quarterback position. That's why it's his team. And barring him getting injured, I don't see Zach Mettenberger being the starter of this team. If you've watched for 4 days, it's not close. It's not a competition, that's for sure. This is Marcus Mariota's team at this point. That's why they drafted him, and that is how he looks out there on the field. And that's great news if you're a Tennessee Titans fan. They're trying to sell tickets. They're trying to get butts in the seats over there on Sunday. Marcus Mariota may just be the guy who sort of turns all the mojo around here. People wondered about Ken Whisenhunt after last year, and rightfully so at 2-14. That was a disaster. But there is some excitement when you look at all the fans out there, when you see these guys in the locker room. And Mariota may be that kind of galvanizing force that the guys who were coming back from last year maybe had some doubts about the system or where this team was going. They're on board now because they see this quarterback and how good he potentially can be. A lot of power behind that. A lot of power behind having a quarterback that is the guy, that is the man. Marcus Mariota appears to be the man for the Tennessee Titans. Our phone lines are open if you'd like to jump in on the conversation. 737-7767 is the number. We will take a break. We will come back, get to more of your phone calls, and hear from some of these Titans after 1 week at training camp. Back with more after this. You're watching SportsLine here on News Channel 5+.